Hello, wonderful people. Welcome once again to our session of Jira on backlog refinement and backlog prioritization. So I'll kindly request that you launch your Jira instance and then let's go to backlog. On the left pane, you can see backlog. Yes, if you followed from the beginning, you realize we were developing something we called epics for Facebook. And we said we have marketplace, profile, messaging, group, privacy. So to develop marketplace, we have to develop what we call user stories. And these are a number of stories that will make up this one big epic. So you can see we have epics for marketing here. This is marketing and marketplace. You can see what they actually are by the color code here. So we want to see only marketplace. When you click on that, it will filter only marketplace. So we want to concentrate on, let me close this one so that we can see it bigger. We want to concentrate on this one, refining them and prioritizing them. What that means is that these are raw user stories that have been entered. Before developers can work on them, they need some more details about the user story. And then they can't just pick any of them and start working on them. They would also have to put them in order of preference according to the product owner and stakeholders. So we are doing backlog refinement. What is backlog refinement? Here now, let me define what backlog refinement is. So backlog refinement is where the stories are clarified, they are detailed and estimated, ensuring they are ready for implementation. This helps the team have a clear understanding of the user stories and their requirements. So during backlog refinement, you want to encourage every team member to talk. You want to encourage every team member to ask questions. And you are also helping the product owner to be detailed enough about these user stories he wants the team to develop. It can be tricky sometimes when you just assume that a person has understood you by what you have just said. So you encourage the team members to be able to ask further questions so that they will know they are actually able to understand the imaginations. I call user stories sometimes imaginations of the stakeholder. This is how I want it. This is how I see it. But is it the same way the developer understands it? Is it the same way the developer sees it? If the developer doesn't see it the same way, the developer cannot deliver it the same way. So a developer should be able to understand and see exactly what the customer is imagining. So this is what we do during refinement. We are asking questions for more details, and then we are estimating whatever we are doing. And then we can't just get up and say we will pick any user story that is refined and work and send to the sprint. No. When we have refined, product owner will order them according to his preference. So this is what we call backlog prioritization. Backlog prioritization, in short, is the process of determining the order in which user stories or items in the backlog will be worked on. It involves assigning priority levels or rankings to each item based on factors such as business value, which of these bring more business value to the customer. It also depends on business needs. Sometimes a particular user story is more required according to the release that they have done so far for the customers. It also depends on project goals. Other times too, it depends on some technical advice. That is, it depends on dependencies. And also sometimes it depends on the urgency. So it all depends. Backlog refinement and backlog prioritization, if you ask which one is done first, sometimes it all depends on urgency, it depends on business value, you know. So this is what backlog refinement and prioritization are. We are going to again define these into more details, estimate, and then we put them in ranking so that developers can be able to start working on them. And then they will pull them to this session we call sprint, right? They will send them to the sprint and then work starts. So we have seen epics. Now we want to handle the user stories one after the other. And let's see what each user story carries and does not carry, and then complete it, make it ready. We want to get these user stories ready. Again, to get it ready, it has to be prioritized, it has to be refined. To get it ready, it has to also be refined, it has to be prioritized. What I mean is that it can be done in any steps, right? So let's see one user story and then refine it better. Let's make it a little bigger. So this is the user story. We are going to add what we call description to the user story. If we want a user story to be ready, we have to add description to it. We also have to give it the acceptance criteria. We have to ensure that it has a version. We have not created versions so far, right? What version should it belong to? We also want to ensure that it has estimate. And lastly, we want to also ensure that it has all necessary documentation, whether they are wireframes or they are mockups or whatever documentation is required for the developer to get more clarity into the user story. We attach it right here. So let's pick this one, for instance. Let's see, you come to the details of every user story. When we come to the details, the first thing we see is the user story itself is well written out. As a seller, we are on marketplace, right? As a seller, I want to easily create and publish listings for the products or services I want to sell on Facebook Marketplace. This is the user story. Then we will come and type in here the description. I have my description already typed out. Description, it says, currently when users make a post on Facebook, it is possible to all their friends. It is visible to all their friends by default. However, this user story aims to enhance the privacy settings features, giving users more control over the visibility and accessibility of their posts. By customizing the privacy settings, users can choose specific individuals, groups, or even restrict certain people from seeing their posts. So this is basically giving the seller the opportunity to create and publish on Facebook Marketplace, but we make our descriptions also here. And then we come to acceptance criteria. One, it says the user should be able to access the privacy settings for their posts easily from the post creation interface. Two, when selecting public, the user's posts should be visible to anyone on Facebook, even those who are not on the user's friend list. So these are acceptance criteria. These are more detailed and help us understand this user story. It is not enough. We can have attachments right here. Let's attach something here. Okay, so we come here and we attach any mockup or any wireframe. Okay, that will help us get more details about the user story. That is, if we have any such document for it. Yeah, so it says successfully attached. You've added an attachment to user story number 15, FAC 15. Yes, this is the attachment. Okay, it's showing right here. You can attach as many attachments as possible. That is, if you need so many for this user story. It could be an audio, it could be a video, it could be some spreadsheet, it could be anything that is necessary. Maybe when someone was talking, you rather recorded, or you interviewed, you recorded. Whichever way that helps you guys get clarity into the user story, you want to do it so that when you have all the details, you can be able to start pushing them to the sprint for development. So this is what we do. You come to the details session and then you fill out this side: assignee, reporter, development. So assignee, who is going to work on the user story. You click on this and then you assign it to someone. Reporter, that is who created it. Development, okay, this is for the developers. They create branch, they create commit, they add deployment. So this is, they are playing with their Git repository, whether they are using Bitbucket or Git itself or any other repository that will help them to undertake pull requests and push and merge, as they work on their code. So this is not so much in the domain of the Scrum Master, but if you want to understand it, and then you want to look into their pull request and their request for peer review and some of all that, you can look into this. We have releases, we have labels. You can label them according to how you want to identify certain groups or you want to identify certain actions. This is what labels is used for. And then we come to story point. This is where you are estimating this user story. So every user story will have its own story point, right? So we have what we call planning poker, which is again not going to be handled here. I have videos on that. So planning poker, the team meets, and by planning poker, they come up with user stories, vote on them, and select on a particular story point. So let's say with this user story, as the team asks questions for more clarifications and as they draft the acceptance criteria, they are now confident to award a story point. And let's say they say the story point for this one is 5. Okay, when they looked at it, it looks like it's a 5. And then you click on this. Now, this one has been refined to the estimate level. Then here we have the epic link. The epic link already we have it is marketplace. We are trying to develop the marketplace. And then the priority, this is where you want to order it. What should be the priority? Is it highest, high, low, lowest? We say this is pretty high. Okay. And then we can open more fields to do, no, more fields is here. Yeah, so original estimate, we don't need to get into details in some of these. Let's see. We also have components. Components also has to do with grouping them in certain ways that can make it easily identifiable to you. So sometimes we can use labels and components for what components can do, or sometimes what components can do, what label can do. We can, so with components, for instance, we group them into certain tasks or certain groups, right? And then we also certain teams, right? So we use component to indicate that. Then we have the sprint. What sprint will this find itself? We can just know that after we have dragged it to a particular sprint. We don't. And let's talk about fixed versions. Fixed versions is what version does this belong to? Yes, we know it belongs to the marketplace Epic, but then what version is it? We are going to work in versions also. So we have maybe version 1, version 2, version 3, version 4. So what version would this be? We don't have any versions created so far. Oh, I did some version somewhere. It's not correct. So let's come here. We are going to create versions. Okay. So when you want to create version, you come to, let's go back. When you want to create version, you click on the versions here, and then you click on create versions. Let's call this version 1. Create. Okay. We also have to give version 1 some details. Okay, we can give some details to version 1. We have created version 1. We want to know the start date and then the end date. When do we want to start and when do we want to end this version? So for version 1, let's change the names. Let's change this one's name to version 3. Okay. So we can create another version here. Create version, let's say version 4. Great. You hit create. You can set the date right here. Start date. You can click on this. You select a start date. End date. You select an end date. And then you hit create. Another way you can do it. Let's say version 1. Watch. There is this small arrow here. There is this middle section, and there is a drop down here. If you click on any of them, something different will open for you. So if you click on this, it gives you edit name. If you click on this, it gives you this entire details look. And then if you click on this, it also give you another session. So this drop down here, we will edit the date, right? We can click on this, enter manually, or click on this and then select. So we can say, yes, we want to select it from this date, and then the release date. We want to release maybe on this date. Okay, that's it. So we do for versions. Now let's go back to our backlog. Okay, let's go back to where we were. We have our backlog, right? And we are going back to this user story. This is what we're working on. Right now, we want to the version. We've given the priority. We want to give it a version, fixed versions. We want to, now you can see all the versions we've created popping up here. We want to say this belongs to version 1. Now, click out, we are done. Do we have any comments? We can add any comment right here. Anything you want to add, or if there is someone in particular you want to assign it, you want to leave a message to, so there are, if you start with a symbol at and the person's email address, right, whatever it is, you can, I'm getting this to myself, Bernard, and then I hit save. I'm sending a message to myself. Yeah, so we have refined, we can say we have refined this user story now. Okay, we have refined it now. It has a story point attached to it. It's ready now. We can say it's ready. So we didn't give this one as this is a so so now we do this for as many stories as possible, but you are not doing just too many stories, because you would always have to have a conversation around the user stories as you are ongoing with your development. Things will be changing, things will be reviewed. So this is all about backlog refinement. Great. So after we have refined all this, you can see right here we have the story points, we have done the description, we have added the required documents, all the attachments that are necessary, we have linked the versions. When we have done all these, then we are confident that our backlog is healthy. Developers understand it, developers have estimated it. Then we will say we are ready to work on them. So which ones do we want to work on in the sprints? This will call for further prioritization. That's when we said it belongs, it depends on the business value, on the customer needs, on the project goals, on the dependencies, on the urgency. So product owner comes and thinks this one should move to, we are going to create something which is not the norm for Jira. You see here we have sprint 1, we have sprint 2. Okay, we created this one. I just created it. I want us to put all the backlogs we have refined that we think are ready into, that we think we want to work on. Now they are all ready actually. Now the ones we want to work on, I want us to put them here. Okay, in that order, as many as we think we are ready to work on. And then let's just put them. Let's say we put this here, we put this there, we put this, we put this. Oh, sorry, this one went to the wrong place. We want it here. Let's put this here. Let's put this here. So let's just be pulling them to the ready state. I said they are already ready, but let's just put them to the order in which we want to work them. So as you can see, we've put a number of stories to this side. Let me rename this one. Okay, click on this and say edit sprint. I want to call it ready items. You can call it any name you want. Yeah. So you can see it's ready items. Now, in our sprint planning session, we will plan this. We will decide to, in the planning who is going to work on what. That could have also been done, but in the sprint planning, that's when we are more confident about who is going to work on what. And then we will finally bring them to the sprint and start working on them. So thank you. This is the end of our backlog refinement. I said if you want a healthy backlog, you are going to make sure that you have the descriptions and acceptance criteria. Acceptance criteria is very important. Never start any development without acceptance criteria if you don't want any confusion, because the acceptance criteria exists as, let's say, is a contract between you and the product owner. So don't just say he said it and I did it. No, he said it, document it. Okay, you need to document it, and then when product owner comes changing his mind and saying otherwise, you just prove to him that no, this is what we had in acceptance criteria. And same, it goes the other way also. If you do something which is not as according to, as indicated in the acceptance criteria, the product owner can tell you no, you just haven't done according to what we agreed on. So user story helps in these conversations. They are, again, not technical things. They are from the perspective of the customer. Let's refine them. Let's ask the questions that are going to help us really, really understand what the customer is imagining or is desiring. And then from there, we can be able to fine tune it. Sometimes when the team understands it well, they can even be more innovative and contribute much better and offer better solutions for arriving at this need of the customer. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have come to the end of this session. If you enjoyed this tutorial, kindly hit the like button. And I would also be grateful if you subscribe so that you can receive more on these topics. Greg, let me see you in the next video as we go into sprint planning. Thank you.